Hello, and welcome to another Rangaroo's Steel Division Divisional Overview. And today we're taking a look at the Festung Grob Paris Division, or otherwise known as the Division, where they kind of just got all their shit, threw it together, and hoped for the best. It's all new divisions added in the Back to Hell DLC, and as you can see, they got a lot of infantry and a lot of tank slots, as well as anti-tank as well, and everything else is pretty standard. A whopping 44 activation points, which is the most activation points yet any division has in game. And in terms of economy, 75 points in A phase, 135 points in B phase, and 125 in C. So a pretty decent point curve. Yes, it goes down towards the end, but only by 10 points, which is, that's acceptable. That is definitely acceptable. So there's a lot of units to cover, a lot of new ones too, so let's just jump right into it. So Recon, there's nothing really too new here. You got the BMW, Jeep, bike, they're terrible, don't get them. You got the Artilleries, they come in a Panhard MG, which is pretty much one of these with the turret cut off and just an MG34. You know, it's a pretty decent little fire support vehicle, nothing too crazy, but you know, it's better than a Kubragen MG. Of course, you got the Panhard, or the 204F. It's a decent little recon light vehicle, mainly used to try and deal with enemy half-tracks, and maybe some light armor. But even then, it's going to have quite a hard time fighting Stuarts. You do have one A-phase Puma with 2-star veterancy. Puma's always a pretty decent A-phase recon vehicle. It can fight your Stuarts and sometimes Shermans rather efficiently. You want to be using this as a shoot and scoot vehicle. You don't want it hanging out anywhere for too long. Just pop in, get a few shots, and then bugger out with its, you know, pretty decent speed. It's not the fastest vehicles. I mean, Cromwell's got the same speed, but nonetheless, they're not too bad. And then some spar troops in just a half track with 2-star veterancy and B phase. So really not a lot in terms of recon. It's enough to get you by, and enough to be able to see what the enemy's doing, but it's not like you're going to be doing any crazy recon plays with recon Panther tanks. Infantry Tab. Yeah, there's a lot to go over. This is pretty much like the melting pot of German divisions, because they got army dudes, they got Kriegsmarine dudes, they got Luftwaffe dudes, Russians, Paris people, just everything. Bloody everything in terms of variety. So in A phase, you don't get that much in terms of variety. You got Grenadier Führers, and then you got Feldgendarmes, which are pretty much field police. They are pretty good. I highly recommend for your A phase command unit, always get these guys, as a 2-star veterancy makes their command radius much larger, even though you only get 2 of them. And they got a pretty decent weapon loadout, 4 SMGs, smokes, as well as anti-tank grenades. And then you have Landschützen, who are kind of like Ersatztruppen 2.0. They have more guys in the squad, they still have the MP40, and they're not disheartened, but they're 5 points more. So you think, okay, you know, that's pretty decent trade. You lose the disheartened and you get some more guys for an extra 5 points. But these guys are actually much worse than Ersatztruppen. And mainly it's because they don't have the disheartened stat. And that sounds ridiculous, because you don't want you guys to be disheartened. That's dumb. But the reason you want the Ersatztruppen to be disheartened is because they get suppressed easier. And these types of infantry units, they're not going to be doing too much killing, yeah, just here to draw fire. And because the Landschützen don't get suppressed as quickly, they die faster. As when a unit is suppressed, they take like 20-25% less damage. So with these guys, you want them suppressed ASAP, so they get that bonus, essentially, of taking less damage. And also have 5 points more. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's an extra like 50% on top of the price. Which is, you know, paying an extra 50% for something is nothing to really balk at. You still kind of need to use them, as you don't really have much else in A phase, so we get to the Beherungs, but they're not great. It's not like 91st Luftland, where you can just spam Ersatztruppen and win, because it doesn't really work for this division. You don't have Feldjägers backing you up either, which is a bit of a shame. And then you got the Beherungs, and once again, they look pretty good on paper. A 15-man squad, largest squad in Steel Division. We've got a lot of large numbers here. And weapon loadout, you got an Italian SMG, 13 Mosin guns, yes, they have Mosins, and then a French machine gun with anti-tank grenades. There's a veterancy, which is nice, but once again, they're not really that good of a unit. They're not great in CQC as you only have that one submachine gun, and they're not great long range because they don't really have, you know, a good machine gun. The French machine gun only does 2 HE, where an MG34, 42, heck, even an MG15 does 4 HE. And they're not that great in anti-tank either, because they only have a bloody anti-tank grenade, which has piss poor range, and it's just very hard to get close to anything of only 100 meters. They're kind of like land shooting in a sense, where you just kind of shit them there, and they take fire because they're a 15-man squad. But yeah, they're not really that good at killing. You want to be using them more on like mid, closer range, so you can at least use that submachine gun and the Mosins, which have, you know, that's really the most damage dealer for this unit. But they're just meat shields, more expensive meat shield. B phase is where it gets interesting. So you got Kriegsmarine infantry, so we got some Navy guys being thrown in. You only get 1 card of them with ×6, and you got MP28, 3 carbiners, and an MG15. They're pretty much a Brand group. Yeah, it's disheartened. That's really the best way to put it. They're not really that bad. Once again, Luftwaffeführer has no stars to his name, so pretty worthless. Luftwaffejägers, which is the same as you get in 3rd Fallschläger in 91st Luftlander. Yeah, pretty good infantry unit. They're, you know, they got the MG15, which makes them better at longer range compared to the Bücherungs, as well as a Faustvertrauen, which isn't, you know, the best anti-tank weapon. It's worse in a Panzer Faust, but at least it has the range. They don't have that much in terms of ammunition. Yeah, pretty alright. Yeah, they're pretty decent. They're not the best, but at least they got a rocket launcher and a good machine gun, which are what matters. Now we got Kriegsmarine Führer. You know, this one has no veterancy to its name, but it's a really good unit because it's essentially a Panzer Grenadier squad. 2 SMGs, 8 carbiners, 2 MG34s, as well as smoke, and it is a Trove-man squad. Yeah, pretty damn good. They don't have the Panzerfaust that usually you get for Panzer Grenadiers, but they can dish out the damage with 2 MG34s, and really the leader status is really just more of a nice little bonus. You're not going to be using this to like keep him, you know, keep a unit's morale. You want to be using this as a frontline fighting unit, is what I'm trying to say. As a pretty decent frontline fighting unit. But you only get 2 of them in a card, which is a bit pathetic. Now we got the Russian dudes, the ROA. I forgot what it stands for. I mean, you can always put what the acronym stands for in the comments, or I'll probably just edit it in the video. But nonetheless, yeah, full on Russian. They got 3 PPSHs, 7 Mosin guns, a DP-28, as well as a Faustvertrauen. These are more like a regular Grenadier squad. The machine gun is still pretty terrible. It only does that 2 HE, but for CQC, holy shit, they got 3 PPSHs giving them Trove HE damage, making them really good CQC troopers. That's pretty much what you want to be using these Russian guys for. Getting in close, letting those PPSHs do the talking, and also just having them around for some infantry anti-tank. And then we also can get some MG42s and B phase with no veterancy. C phase is where it gets a bit more like a Panzer Division deck. You got some Grenadier Führers, once again no veterancy, so not really worth it. You can get land shooting in packs of 8, but they're just land shooting aren't really that great to begin with, so I would completely skip that. And finally, you get another leader unit with 2-star veterancy, this time Panzer Grenadier Führers. You also get quite a lot of Panzer Grenadiers with 2-star veterancy. These are the Panzer Grenz without the Panzer Faust, so you don't have anti-tank weaponry. You also got 2-star MG42s, 1-star Panzer Grenz that come in the 21st Panzer Division half-track, and these guys do have a Panzer Faust, and then Panzer Grenadier Führer with a anti-tank half-track. So it gets pretty nice in C phase with, you know, the good old 2-star Panzer Grenz. You don't mess around with 2-star Panzer Grenz. So there's a lot of infantry options, a damn lot of infantry options. They're pretty alright. The main thing is that you don't really get, the heavy hitter Panzergrenadiers, which the German divisions, or especially tank divisions, are really known for. As Panzergrenadiers just wreck face when it comes to long range battles. So earlier on, you want to be sticking more close range and using your Russian dudes and just the sheer numbers of the Bergerungs in your infantry fights. Tank Tab. There's a lot of options once again. You get all shapes and sizes here. There's no discrimination. So you got 35 Renaults and 39 Hotchkiss. Both pretty decent, cheap spam tanks. You also got a new one, the Panther 40 Renault. You only get 2 of them. It's a command unit and it does have veterancy. So it's a cheap little command tank, essentially. That's really what it is. And it's slightly better than the other 35 model. I mean, in 5 years, I added 1 extra armor and 1 extra AP. These French really know how to make a tank. In A phase, you also got a command Panther 3. Your Panther 3s aren't really that great. They're never really good, but especially now with the new light vehicle AT gun changes, light vehicles such as Panther 3s and Stuarts die very fast. So they're not the best thing. You can also get a Panther P2, which is always a good choice because they're just great fire support. Lovely little tank. Or large tank, I should say. It's a bit heavy. You also got some Somu tanks, or Somu tanks in B phase. Really outclassed by B phase, as you're going to be fighting Shermans at this point, so not really worth it. And you also got a whopping 1 Panzer 4H in B, 1 Stealth Veterancy, and 1 Stug 3G in B phase. For 2 Stealth Veterancy, you really see they're really trying to, put something together. They're both decent. I always prefer the Panzer 4 as it actually has a turret, and it's not as stupidly expensive as a Stug 3G. Really, I don't know why a Stug 3 is 165 points still. It should be like a 135, 140 point unit, like the Panzer 4, but yeah, whatever, that's just the way she goes. And in the C phase, you become a heavy tank division. You got Tigers, and you got Panthers, and you got a lovely selection of Tigers and Panthers. And you do got the Panther G, which is the best Panther in game, as it has 7 accuracy over the regular 6, and also, extra armor. So it's really good once you get to C phase, as you're pretty much Panzer or like Trophy SS in terms of tank options. And you all have veterancy too, which is lovely. Support tab is pretty bare, nothing really too great here. So you got a BMW bike with veterancy as well as a leader unit. You pretty much just use this like an unarmed M3 scout car, M3 armored car that you get for like the French divisions, for example. It just had to sit in the back lines, give some moral support. You also got the Panzer Run B, which is great because we're finally, even though we do have the Panzer Runs in 9th Panzer, we got Panzer Runs, Panzer 2s, Panzer 3s, Panzer 4s, Panzer 5s, and Panzer 6s. We got the whole set of Panthers. And this one isn't even so much of a tank because it's in the bloody support section. It has 2 MG34s, but it does 13 HE damage. So it dishes out quite a lot of close range fire support. It's pretty bare minimum apart from that. You pretty much use this like a half track essentially. You also got A-phase Flammenwerfers, which is nice if you want some extra CQC spice. Also some A-phase IG-18s, which are pretty much going to be replacing the role of MG42s. You don't really get MG42s till B phase. You got some supply trucks, 1 in A and then ×2 in B, as well as some Flammen Panther P2s and a nice ×3 in a card, which is pretty good, but it kind of really outstayed their due once B phase hits, as they're not as great in B phase because Shermans runs again, and yeah, it's just a bit expensive if you just want a pure flamethrower unit, especially considering you already have the Russian dudes for CQC, so it's not like you're hurting too much. Anti-tank. A lot of options, but nothing too crazy. You got a 2-star Panthers Rex and only ×2 per card. You got Pack 36s up to Razoo, some Pack 38s. You also got some Panzer Jäger 35s, as well as a Pack 40 in A phase. So a pretty nice selection. You got something for every occasion. B phase, you got these Panther Shrek. It's a 6-man Panther Shrek team with G43s. I mean, the semi-automatic rifles isn't gonna make them, you know, the best fighting force. It's not like the Panther Shrek Recon squad that the Germans get with like the 4 submachine guns, like the Fallschläger runs. But you know, having 6 guys make him more tankier. And then you got a lot of different anti-tank options or anti-tank vehicles. You got the 21st Division anti-tank half-track, Mortar 1, Mortar 3, as well as some Pack 40s. And you only get these guys in packs of run with some veterancy, so pretty poor activation point rise or card efficiency. But if you want some mobile anti-tank options, you got, yeah. And then C phase, you got 1-2 Star Jagdpanzer Mark IV, which is always a good choice, as the Jagdpanzers are great, as it has that magical 14 armor, which makes them pretty resistant to anything apart from 6 or 17 pounders, and 2-star veterancy makes these rather scary. Anti-air, you got some nice options. So you got the French 25mm. It's essentially a Bofors, as it has a 1 kilometer range, so it does do 2 less HE damage, but it's pretty nice for 40 points. It's a good AA option, especially because it has that range. You also got 20 mils on the back of a German half-track. Not really worth it. You got some regular old Flak 36s, which are the real backbone of a lot of German AA, but you know, nothing too amazing. You also got the Flak M36, which is a giant French 75mm. It's pretty much like a Flak 88. It does the same damage and has the same range, but it doesn't have AP ammunition, so you can't be using this against tanks. But it's not really that big of a deal, because you're going to be having this exclusively in the backline. It's not like a Flak 88 where you kind of think, maybe I can move it up front to try and deal with some German generally just gets artillery to death. So you're going to be keeping this in the backline for sure, because there's not really much you can shoot directly. And that Flak 88 without the AP, and you pay 40 less points because of it, which is pretty good. That's a really good deal. So you get a lovely AA net for a good budget. And in C phase, you got Flak 88 up the butt with 1-star veterancy. Artillery is piss poor. You got some 50 mils in A phase, which are pretty good. They're going to help you in those town fights, as you don't really have the crazy CQC dudes. And just the fire rate of these 50mm mortars is always very useful. You also got a smoke off-map unit. It calls in smoke off the map because you don't have smoke grenades or 50mm mortars. It's terrible. It's just not. It's terrible. Don't even think about getting it, even for the joke. It's just not good. You also got some LEF-16s, which I believe are World War I German gun from 1916, if I'm guessing the name correctly. It's a bit out of date. It does do nice HE damage, and it's only 100 points, but it only has 1.9 kilometer range, which isn't that far, meaning that you're going to get easily counter-battery to this if your opponent sets up 25 pounders, for example. In B phase, you got a off-map half-track of 173 mils, nothing really too fancy there, and some more of those LEF-16s, which are, you know, they're good numbers, they're just easily counter-batteried. And then 1 2-star Hummel, which is a 2-star Hummel is pretty much like God's middle finger of death from 2.8 kilometers. You really want to be using this thing to counter battery, as your artillery is already pretty short range and it's probably going to get counter batteried by 25 pounders, and the Hummel is one of the few things that can really dish out damage to 25 pounders. And heck, even like Sextons and Priests too. This is good against those more mobile artillery units. And then we get to the airplane section. There's literally like 3 different airplanes. So you got Storch, which is your regular recon plane. Okay, and we're just going to skip down to the bottom here. You also got C-phase Storch, that calls in the off-map artillery, and it's the Mimi 600mm. It does 50 HE damage, which is, well, everything usually caps at 30 in this game, and in War Game, everything capped at 30 when it came to, like, damage rise, so 50 is pretty big, and they have 168 meter AOE. It pretty much kills everything within that radius. It does not mess around. But you only get 3 shots, and it comes in a dinky little recon plane. So if this gets shot down, you kind of lose it, and it's also 200 points, which is a bit expensive. So the two other options is the D520, which I believe is a pre-war French fighter. It has the best agility of any fighter in game. The Stuka also has the same agility, but that's not really a fighter. And also, like, recon planes, the same thing too, but they're not really a fighter, yeah. You know, with that speed. But a pretty light armament of only 4 machine guns and a 120mm, so only 4 HE in total, and a rather slow speed of 500 kilometers an hour. So, yeah, alright. It's not like the Polish Hurricanes, where the Polish Hurricanes are also good at ground strafing, because these guys aren't really good at ground strafing, and they're not really good at intercepting either, because they're just not fast enough, even against Spitfires. But when you do get into a tangy dogfight, they're pretty decent, as they can outmaneuver everything in game. But, you know, if the enemy has any sort of AA, you're not really going to have a good time, as you're probably going to get forced back, and then you're going to retreat with this plane, and because it's so slow, it's just going to get caught up by anything, and then killed while on the retreat. And then finally, we got JE-188. You get a lot of him. A stupid amount of him. There are 125 points. And you got 28 fucking 50-kilogram bombs. 28 of them. 50 kilograms. It's a carpet bomber for 125 points. And it's not like it's even a bad bomber. It's decently fast. It's not the best. It has good resilience. And it has a pretty decent defensive loadout of, you got like a machine guns up front. And I believe you got a tail gunner at back too. Or back here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. But it's a good... No, it's back here. It's all in the canopy. I apologise. I'm not too familiar with the German bombers. But it's pretty good for 125 points. And considering how card efficient they get, especially in C phase, where you get 4 of them in a card, it's ridiculous. And also by B phase, you can buy 1 per minute. So you can get 1 heavy bomber per minute. A bit ridiculous, you got to admit. So anyway, let's take a look at a deck that I have built earlier. Once again, deck code, as usual, is in the description below. And as usual, this is usually, I'd say my deck is more for team games, while the deck we're going to see in the 1v1 is, well, more towards 1v1s. But, you know, they're both pretty decent. So nonetheless, Recon, we got the Orc Filiad just for some A-phase Recon, as well as the Puma, as it's just a nice little tank vehicle thing to have. And then B phase is Spar Troops. Spar Troops are great because they can fight well, and 2-star veterancy makes them good. Also, you get 2-star veterancy half tracks with the price as well, and you can't really go wrong with 2-star veterancy. It's the infantry loadout. Many people have different philosophies on how they like to set up their infantry for 20 or for the bloody Paris division, but I'll explain my philosophy right now. So, 1 card of land shooters just for holding the line. They're just here to get shot at. The fellow gender army, or gender, I can't bloody say it, for the veterancy. And then 2 cards of Berha Rings is really the only slightly good infantry choice that you get, but they're really just here to take fire. B phase, I like Luftwaffejägers, as you got, they're pretty decent at the more longer range fights. They're not too expensive. Yes, the disheartening thing sucks, but you also get 4 of them in a card, which is pretty better than most other infantry in this division. Kriegsmarine Führer, because goddamn, I really want something like Panzer Grenadiers and B phase, and you know, a little bit of extra lady unit is a nice touch. And then 2 cards of Russians for the town to fight in. You just throw them in, say it's Stalingrad, and they usually have a pretty good time in town fights. NC phase, you've got the Panther Grens. I pretty much take one of both, for one for the AT and the half tracks, and the other one just for completely mopping up face. And even though I prefer my Panther Grens to have Panther Faust, the 2-star veterancy does make up for it. Tank Tab. So in A phase we just got the 40 Renault and the Panther P2. This is just for, you know, the actual lead unit, and it's not too bad. And the Panther P2 is, yeah, just for, it's just a Panther B2, it's awesome. I take the Panther 4 over the Stug in B phase, just because I just want to pay a little bit less cheaper. I just want to play something more cheaper. I mean, some people do take both medium tanks, but I'd much rather just save that card instead of getting like a mid-range, okayish medium tank. Just get some more heavy tanks in C phase. Speaking of heavy tanks, we're taking Tigers in ×2 for the 1-star veterancy, as well as the Panther Gs, as they are the best Panthers. Some people like to have much more tanks in their division, and instead get like the Panther Ds and the BEF Panthers and the 2-star Tiger because of the added veterancy. But because I'm more heavy in other slot loadouts, I'd rather just take the hit and have the more card efficient only 1-star veterancy tanks. But we also have the Panzer in C phase. So in C phase we got really 5 heavy tanks, which is more than enough to get you through. If you're gonna lose all 5 heavy tanks, yeah, nah, you're doing something wrong. Support, we got the BMW just for some extra leader. I don't take any other like proper leader units. Like I'm not taking the Panther Grenadier Furies in C phase because I want more fighting infantry. So this is why we are getting the bike. Panzer on B for some infantry fire support. Once again, you pretty much use these like half tracks, and IG-18s, which you pretty much use like MG-42s, hold open fields with some big bada booms, as well as just enough supply trucks to get you through. 3 is usually more than enough with this division, not too artillery crazy. Anti-tank, so you got the Panzer Streks because you don't really have any infantry handheld, or proper infantry handheld anti-AT weapons in A phase, so having Panzer Streks to help hold over towns and, you know, sneak in forests is always great. And never underestimate Panzer Streks, they're really good units. Now, I like taking Pak 36s over Pak 38s. Main thing is because the Pak 36 shoots 15 rounds a minute. Yes, it's going to have a hard time killing Stuarts, but it just shoots fast enough that it can usually stun them up, which is usually pretty good. They're good card efficiency rise, you're cheap as chips, and they're going to kill half-tracks. And one of the major difficulties in A phase is dealing with half-tracks, as you don't have a lot of Panzerfaust with your infantry. So having these spread out everywhere is great. But you also have the Pak 40 in A phase to help you with more heavier tank enemies. B phase, we're taking more Panzerschreck troops, as I like Panzerschrecks. We're taking the B phase 21st Panzer half-track anti-tank, as it has a 2-star veterancy. Yes, it doesn't have HE compared to the Mortar 1 or Mortar 3, but really you want to be using this as a pure anti-tank vehicle. And yes, it doesn't have the machine gun either. But once again, pure anti-tank and a 2-star veterancy for 80 points. That's a pretty good deal. B phase Pak 40s for some extra anti-tank, and then the C phase Jagdpanzer because it's essentially a heavy tank. Anti-air, we got pretty much all the French stuff because it's really good, and then the Flak 88, it's more than enough to keep you afloat or flying. Artillery, 50mm mortars, just because of 50 mils, 6 of the LEF 16s, which is, if you need to artillery spam, you can get a lot of these guys out at least, which is good enough, and you can buy 1 per minute once B and C phase hits, and then the B phase Hummel, because by God, you're gonna get counter batteried if you try to artillery spam, and this is your saving grace when it comes to that. And then we get to the airplane tab, and you're thinking, wow, okay Rang, you really like bombers. So this is 9 bombers in total. Yeah, 9 bombers in total, if I do the math. 1 in A phase is more than enough, and then we get the B and C phase models. Now the reason we're not taking fighters is because you don't really need fighters when you have a really good AA net with a lot of 1.2 kilometer AA options. It's like 16th Luftwaffe, where they don't really need fighters because they have such a good AA net. And it's the same thing with J188. They have a good enough defensive armament to protect themselves at least, so by the time they're flying over your lines, the Flak 88s and French AA guns can just finish him off. And also these things are so good at just stopping pushes and just keeping the enemy at bay. You can just spam them, and every time the enemy just tries to attack, you bring 1, maybe 2 out, you carpet bomb, they're forced to retreat, and you just do it every time, every bloody time. They're really, really bloody good. It's a bit borderline OP, I'm not gonna lie, but it's very efficient. I highly recommend that you just try doing a full bomber loadout with Paris Division, as it's just it's ridiculous. It gets bloody ridiculous. So overall, the pros of this deck is activation points galore. You got a lot of activation points to work around with. You're gonna have a lot of nice infantry, tank options, etc. to pick. It's nice having a lot of activation. You're not gonna be too hamstrung in any area. You have a good economy curve. I mean, 75 to 135 to 125 is pretty good. You're not really struggling or starving point rise in any major point of the match. You can bomb on a budget. 125 point heavy bombers. I don't think I need to say much more. And also you have lots of variety. And when I mean lots of variety, I'm not just meaning that, oh, you have a lot of fun units to pick. You know, you got a lot of fun infantry, German stuff that's new and interesting. But you also have pretty much something for every occasion, at least. You got CQC infantry, you got spam infantry, you got your machine gun-ish infantry, you got your cheap tanks, you got some medium tanks, you got some heavy tanks. You got something for every occasion, at least. Even if you do have low numbers, you have something for every occasion. Cons of the deck. One of the major ones is the lack of A-phase AT for infantry. And that sounds a bit silly and a bit specific. And also some other German decks don't have, you know, Panzer Grenadiers or Panzerfaust galore. But when you're fighting an armoured division, it can be pretty tough, as having those Panzerfaust ready to stop, you know, crazy half-track play. And I'm not just talking about half-track rushes, but just very aggressive half-track play early on in light vehicles can be a bit tough. You're very cards inefficient, and when a lot of people first saw this division, they're like, oh, it's OP as hell. You got a lot of tanks, a lot of infantry, and a lot of options. That's true, but you only get your infantry usually in packs of 3, and sometimes packs of 4. It's not like other German divisions where eventually you get stuff in packs of 6 or packs of 4 at the least. So even if you got a lot of options, you're not going to have, you know, you can't get like 6, you know, 1 card of times 6 pioneers. It's a little bit tough to like fill in, like, just to have, I'm trying to like explain it here, but just to have like a meaty chunk. Especially when it comes to tanks too. You only get like 1 Panzer 4 in a card, 1 Stug 3G in a card. You only get like 2 Panzerschrecks in a card in A-phase, even though 2 of the 2-star veterancy. It's just, it's not very card efficient with a lot of your units. So even though you have a lot of variety, it's pretty thin, yeah, variety. It's like having, it's like going to, it's like going to a grocery store and you get like one of those like vegetable platters, and they got like tomatoes and celery and like some pineapple shit over it, and like there's a big dip thing in the middle, and you really like pineapple and you want to just have some pineapple, so you eat all the pineapple, but before you know it, you ate all the pineapple up, and now you only have tomatoes and celery left, and it's like, well, I just wanted pineapple. Yeah, that's what I'm saying here. The pineapple is the Russian infantry, for example. The tomatoes are the Beherungs, and then the celery is more like your Kriegsmarine infantry. I don't know where I'm going on there. I may edit that part out. If you hear it, hello. Also, you have your artillery is pretty meh. It's nothing really great. It's just yeah, and also just a bit meh in terms of the infantry. You don't have pioneers. Pioneers are great. You don't have a lot of Panzergrenadiers till C phase. It's just, one thing that German infantry is usually pretty good at is the machine guns, and you don't really have that machine gun advantage as you're using DP-28 and French machine guns from the 1920s. But enough talking about vegetable platters. Let's see how Yuejin works his deck in a 1v1. And we are back, and we're doing a 1v1 on Omaha. So we have Faceless Shadows playing as the 3rd Armored Division, and Yuejin as the Fäustung Grob Paris Division. So let's take a look at Eugene's deck. So the major thing to look at is the infantry. He takes 1 less card of the Beherungs on A-phase, which is going to make his A-phase a bit tougher, but it's going to reward him later on with more B-phase infantry. He's using Kriegsmarine infantry and of course Kriegsmarine Führer, as well as all the Russians, because why not? And then C-phase he takes the leader Panther Grenadier Führer, as well as the 2-star Panzer Grens. Tank tabs, he's taking more of the 2-star veterancy tanks, but he still has the magic 4 to 5 number of heavy tanks in total, which is more than enough to get you through any C phase really. A bit more heavier in AT and A phase, taking the Panzerjäger and Pak-38 over the Pak-36s. Lighter on the AA, but he has more fighters, only having 3 of those heavy bombers and 4 of the fighters, and artillery isn't as heavy either, but you know, enough to get you through a 1v1. So let's take a look at how Yuejin is deploying. So we got quite a lot of infantry going to be heading left, as well on the right hand side. On this map, he's at a pretty good Grob Paris Deutschland, or you know, pretty good map for his division, as it's a bit more CQC, it's not too much of an open field, and there's a lot of areas where you can ambush if a half-track rush was to happen. And against 3rd Armoured, half-tracks are definitely going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So let's take a look at how he's actually deploying. He's going pretty heavy on the left, as well as the town and centre, and a bit more defensive posture on the right, taking advantage of the open field over here, and of course capping that town. And it's a lot of infantry. He's got himself the Panzerjäger and the Panzer 1B, and the Panhard with the Alkflier going mid. Right hand side, got a Panther 39 going right, and on the left, he is bringing in the 50mm mortar, as well as pretty much a purely infantry anti-tank gun force. Nothing really too crazy. It's not like you can do anything like a crazy big rush in A phase with Paris, as you don't have half-tracks. It's very much like a standard German infantry division, like 16th Luftwaffe, where you have to slowly wear down the enemy and then slowly push with the infantry until C phase at least, when you can actually get the heavy tanks and start, you know, getting the ball rolling. But very defensive, A phase posture, nothing too crazy here. Same thing, Faceless was pretty defensive too, just unloading his armoured rifles in the opposing town. We've got a little bit of machine gun spat back and forth, but really left hand side is going to be where the fighting is taking place. Now fortunately for Yuejin, is against 3rd Armoured, the infantry aren't that big of a deal. The armoured rifles don't really have machine guns, so you're not going to get like out MG'd by like Rangers or, you know, paratrooper dudes that the British can get. So the Landshooten and Bergerungs are going to fare off pretty well 1v1. It's the half-tracks, yeah, are going to be a pain in the arse. But he is to have the Pak-38 looking down the road. It's trying to kill one of the half-tracks, but it's going to be down using his Panzerschracks and anti-tank weaponry efficiently to kill the flight support, as that's going to be the pain in the arse Yuejin is going to have to face. I do have an M8 Scott coming out left, and just once again a very defensive posture on right. You have a Panzer 1B slowly moving up towards the Panhard, but really nothing to really make anything happen. Not exactly, they can kill a half-track. It's going to be very hard to kill a half-track if it only goes 2 units anyway. But Yuejin infantry is making a push. Good use of smoke here, a blocking line of sight so he can get his guys closer. But once again, those half-tracks, he can't really do too much about it. Same with the M8 Scott, who is moving in the AT gun forward to finally get into a good position, as well as the Panther 39, which is going to be more than enough to deal with the half-track threat. But we got the M21 being brought out, and during the early stages for Yuejin A and B phase, artillery is a big deal to fight against, as you have a lot of soft units. So artillery units such as the mortar half-track here is going to be a pain in the butt. It's not going to be fun to fight against. And it's not like you can really counter battery it too. I mean, all you got, you can get Yelly F-16s, but that mortar half-track is a bit more mobile. But his movement is his tank options, his Panther 39 to give some fire support. Landshooten's pretty much pinned down. He's getting another Bergerung squad, I believe. But fortunately, it's just nice and defensive and right, not having to worry about anything here. And that's good, because once again, he only has like 5 Landshootens and 3 Bergerungs. And I'm probably saying the Bergerungs wrong, but I don't really care at this point. But the Panther 39, hey, it's going to be open out a lot. It's really going to force Faceless to probably get like a Stuart or a Sherman to try and counter that tank. Or maybe an anti-tank gun, because he has no real anti-tank options. Yes, he has a armored rifles or the bazookas, but I don't think they're going to get close anytime soon. Some more land shooters for just holding the line, and on his middle side here, I mean, he's shooting the half-track with machine guns, and that's going to be forcing it to retreat, and he has the Panzer too, so he's going to be making some ground. Just good use of fire support with the Panthers. They're good fire support vehicles, same with the Panzer B as well, and also the Panther P2, so it seems like Yuejin is trying to make a play for his middle town. And the mortar is starting to drop rounds on the bearings. And this is going to be slowly slowing in advance. But he's going to get out of Panzer 3. So even though he is less in the infantry department, he does have quite a bit in terms of phase tanks, especially numbers rise. So he could make a tank push, at least. The Sherman would definitely hinder him quite a bit. But fortunately, left-hand side, there's nothing really anti-tank rise to stop him. In the mid-year, this Sherman is going to be a pain in the arse, as he has nothing really heavy in the anti-tank department. I mean, the Panzer can barely penetrate it, and the Panther P2 is going to have a crap shot, but that Sherman is not going to be a fun target. And how he managed to sneak out Cooperwagen past an armoured rifle squad, who knows? Who knows? Well, the armoured rifle squad was on hold fire, which is a little bit sillier. And now it's open fire, and it's pinned down. But Sherman's giving good fire support, and this is really going to be a real big hindrance for this push. Maybe if you see a phase bomber being brought out, just trying to stun it up. But I don't think Yuejin's going to be making much progress in this middle for the remainder of A. On the left hand side, Joe, he is stuck in that choke point. That mortar half track as well as fire support vehicles is really keeping him back. A little bit silly from Shadow moving it on the other side of the hedgerow, even though it has the 50 cal, and yes, it's a pretty good fire support vehicle with that 50 cal. That's not something you want to be exposing from the front. And yeah, the infantry from Yuejin is going to have a hard time against that one mortar. And all that Pack 38, it's in a pretty good spot to try and kill that Scot, but it's not going to get... Oh, it does get the hit, as well as the Panther 39 dealing with the half-track. And the mortar half-track is going to be forced to retreat. And this is pretty good for Yuejin. He's on a nice slow +1 point advantage. I mean, he's pretty much smoking at that Sherman, so he can't exactly do too much. He is fighting it head-on with a Panzer 3. Not a good idea. He's bringing the Panzer to try and... Yeah, he's trying to fight a Sherman with the Panzer. Not a good idea once again, but at least he's managed to outsmoke the Sherman. And it's pretty fortunate that Yuejin hasn't really had to deal with like a lot of Stuart or tanks in general, because that can really hinder you early on if you're not rather equipped for it. But left hand side, he's not going in for balls to the wall attack, being pretty defensive, just holding the line. He can't really, like spare the infantry for an early A phase or so. So he's just keeping back, trying to do his best. But these half tracks are really hindering him quite a bit, and just lacking that infantry A phase AT. Here he is moving in his light tank to deal with him now. He even going to get a Boomerang squad real behind enemy lines here. It has been spotted and it is slowly getting mortared. Has to take us into ×2 speed. But yeah, Sherman can't exactly do too much as he has to go through a choke point. And if he tries to rush through the other side, that's going to be way too close. And he's pretty much outnumbered. 3 to run. Oof, kind of bit exposed here of the Panzer 3, not good. And down it goes. And the infantry loading back into the half track. And now we are in the B phase. Yuejin gets a lot more infantry options. So that's definitely going to help out. A pretty big point difference, a 30-point difference to be exact. We've got Stuart being ripped out immediately in B phase, full faceless. And nothing really from Yuejin. Just banking his points a bit. But now he has the infantry to, you know, if he wants to make some sort of push, he can definitely afford to do that, as he's not going to run out of infantry at this point. Now his middle, now not looking too great for Landshuten, where it's pinned down. And that Sherman, now Stuart is going to be at, and he really needs some tank options to deal with it. And a Stug 3G is a pretty good tank option, especially with the times to the 2-star veteran G. It still is a little bit dangerous, as that Sherman can penetrate the Stug, especially at closer ranges. And because the Stug doesn't have the turret, you know, it's pretty hard to attack with around a corner. But still, you know, it's a pretty good Stug. The B2 is pretty much dead here, but it's pretty silly. Faceless just has to move his rifles up like 5-10 meters, and down goes the Char tank. Which is actually a bit silly saying Char tank, as Char literally means tank in French, or French. And we got the 6-man Panzer Strike Squad, definitely going to help out, especially when a Sherman is kind of barreling towards you a bit. Yo, I don't think he's close enough. He is he? No, he can shoot with the rifles, yo. That's going to be expose himself. But I think he's just... Oh, he's a little bit off, but he does get the kill. And I believe that was with the Pak-38 actually trading both units, yeah. Which is pretty funny, but trading a Pak-38 for Sherman is definitely a good trade. I'd take that trade any day of the week. So we got ourselves, I believe, a Pak-40 coming into middle. As well as some infantry, maybe some Kriegsmarine Führer. And a 50mm mortars just keeping things at bay. And Yuejin getting some well needed infantry reinforcements to hold the left choke point. But once again, you know, he's not making any crazy pushes. Can't really do that to Railgrob with Paris Division. You know, it's just, you know, he got a bit map control and he's just holding on to it. And Paris Division is, as you can guess, pretty good at defending. And that's exactly what Yuejin is doing. And that's really until C phase. C phase is where you can really make the push, as you got heavy tanks supporting you, and good heavy tanks at that. And it's pretty much got a very nice anti-tank line in the middle. You know, it doesn't have the best line of sight coverage to shoot all the foliage and buildings covering him. But if a Shermans or tanks were to try to get through to the other side, they're pretty much going to get killed. And we do have the Kriegsmarine Führer deploying. I mean, you know, they act as a decent lead unit, but they're really just, yeah, for the machine gun and SMG firepower. Armoured rifles, not even managing to get a bazooka off, which is a little bit sad, yeah, as they could have killed a B2 very easily. And just some Kriegsmarine infantry just to hold a point, just like a Landshuten during Panjaka knocking out half-track. And even though he's been pushed back a little bit on the left-hand flank, he's still holding the choke point pretty well. In face of Shadow hasn't really been too aggressive, at the same time it is third armoured. I mean, it's not till C phase where the huge point difference really comes into play for Faceless. But he's really been trying to plug in these gaps, especially in the middle, and it's going to be pretty tough now with that 2-star Stug 3G. And he's just bringing in infantry to try and deal with it. But main thing is Yuejin has better flight support on the field, as he has stuff with armor penetration capabilities. Finally, Faceless is attacking the right hand side, and it's going to get a little bit ugly, as there's not really much here to stop this one Sherman, and the armored rifles are making some progress. Kriegsmarine infantry, just like Bren groups, are going to be keeping the armored rifles back, even though are disheartened. Yeah, MG15 is a pretty deadly machine gun. And some armored rifles are going to get in, but the failed gender army are going to be pretty efficient. CQC, I mean, the 4 SMGs are pretty much a CQC squad. And the Stug 3G is pretty much completely broken through the middle here. And there's not much to stop him at this point. Yeah, it's nothing crazy, no big pushes, just slowly gaining a bit of ground here and yeah. And just defending the points that need to be defended. And once you get into C phase, well, it's pretty good for both sides of C phase. Yuejin can get heavy tanks, and Faceless can get heaviest tanks, but a lot more of them. And now he's making some decent progress here. The Panjager now starting to flank around, and this is just a huge chunk of land, and there's no defense here from Faceless at all. And Faceless, I don't really know why the hell he decided to take the M1917. It's never a good idea to take his machine gun, or the Vickers gun in general. Especially for playing an armored division that already has a lot of half-tracks, or purely half-tracks really. Because if you have half-tracks, there's not really much point getting machine gun infantry, as the half-tracks fill in the same role. You know, Faceless is trying to make some sort of a play on the right-hand side, or it's just not gonna really work. And Yuejin has just... This is such a good defensible position, this middle, as there's a lot of line of sight blockers, a lot of defensive positions, and Paris Division, they're pretty good at defense. Until they're not. And look at his Panther strike, it's slowly getting in closer. I mean, he could sneak up to the M4 Sherman if you also go up here and try to get into his building, but he's just, yes, it's a bit too far, he doesn't want to risk it. And finally we are hitting C phase, we're already in C phase for a few minutes, and we got the Panther. What are you going to do to get Panther right now? Not all that much. And against 3rd Armoured, once again 3rd Armoured, highest AT, 14 AP with the 76mm guns on the anti-tank guns. The 76mm and the Wolverine and whatnot only have 13. So Panther's pretty safe to get. It's a pretty safe bet. It's not like you'll find against the British, who have, you know, the 17 pounders, which are much more of a threat. So he's just going to be able to pick off everything with the Panther. And C phase for Paris it gets nice. Even though you do have less points, just you already have, you know, nice infantry setup, the good AA setup that you sort of already got in B phase. So being able to rip out Panther and Tiger card just helps a lot. And we've got Panther D in left, and because of the Panther D it is 250 points, you got 135 points a tick. You can get one every 2 minutes, which is pretty good for heavy tank standards, right? Yeah. Same rate at like Panzer and Trophy S can get a heavy tanker. They do have a little bit of points left over to buy, you know, another infantry squad or two. But now the heavy tanks on field, and especially on a more of a choke pointy map, they're just gonna have a real good time. A real good time. And also you can get some more Panzer grants. He still has a lot of Russians up his sleeve, so he's not hurting on infantry either, Yuejin. And I'm quite surprised you haven't really seen any planes from him, even from Faceless Shadows. Makes more sense from Faceless, as 3rd Armoured isn't really known for their air support. But really, OJ running 88, it's a bit of a shame you're not going to see their effectiveness here, but I can really vouch to just how bloody good they are. It's ridiculous. You can just roll in thunder, pretend that it's Vietnam. You just bomb everything and move up. There's not even need to do that. We do have some jumbos, and the jumbos are going to be a pain, as the Panthers can't penetrate it, because the jumbo can't really penetrate a Panther either. So it's a bit of a stalemate, yeah. You do have a Tiger on the right hand side, so we've already got 3 out of the potential 5 heavy tanks on the field, and they're still alive. And it's just gonna be a bit of a pitch and roll back and forth between the Panther and Sherman. The main thing is the Panther has better accuracy and higher AP gun, so it is gonna stun up the Sherman before the Sherman can stun up it. And the Bergerungs, you know, they just get suppressed. I mean, if they were a Panzer Grenadier squad, they would have the Panzer Faust that could actually kill the half track, but anti-tank grenades are terrible. They're just terrible. And his Jumbo's getting awfully close to his Panther Strike squad. I'm not entirely sure if a Panther Strike can penetrate a Jumbo from the front, to be honest. It's probably a pretty close call, but if you get flanked by a Tiger, That's usually not good. Yeah, I don't think the Tiger's going to be able to really get the flank here. As the Sherman is pretty much facing its direction. And off the 76mm again, a good ambush there. And down goes the Tiger. Not too big of a deal. I mean, he still has 4 heavy tanks available. And he already has another Panther out. So all he needs is the Jagdpanzer. And he has all the heavy tanks. And again, the heavy tanks is definitely a good idea for Yuejin in this phase. As he is fighting an armoured division. A pretty heavily armoured division. So you want to have the Panthers out to contest these Jumbos and 76mm Shermans. 76mm gun got destroyed, yeah. And yeah, pretty much Yuejin has this in the bag. And just, he didn't play too aggressively. He held the choke points well. He just got that nice slow +1 point advantage. Got to C phase. And then just got the heavy tanks that helped him win. Also helped that Yuejin is probably one of the best players in this game. That also helps quite a bit. And yeah, just solid play from Yuejin. You know, in a 1v1, you can't. I really want to stress, you can't be too aggressive. You just want to kind of stay your ground, have a good time. But see, early on, a lot of kills there. Pack 38 really doing a lot of work, knocking out those very important half tracks. And it also helped once again. You know, armored rifles aren't the best infantry, so it's not like you're fighting against Rangers or Scottish infantry spam. But it's a bit more back and forth in B phase, but then past 16 minutes, as you can see, it is just a slaughter. An absolute slaughter. But yeah, Yuejin just did a pretty solid job. He knocked out the vehicles, and once you knock out the vehicles for the third armoured, especially all the half tracks and stuff, they lose a lot of bites. Just half tracks are really quite a pain to deal with as the Paris division. But yeah, pretty good play overall. And I think that pretty much sums up the Paris division overall. So I hope you guys found this video helpful in this still relatively new division, because there's just it's such a weird division, just because of all the options that you get. And yeah, it's a fun division nonetheless. It plays kind of like 16th in a sense. Really not like, you know, crazy good. You got a lot more, you know, weirder, not so great stuff. But you can make it work. You can damn well make it work. So I'm going to shut up and leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as usual, please just take it easy.